Good morning. Today we'll have a case discussion on carcinoma tongue. Professor Chintamani was supposed to join this class, but he is getting busy with MS final exam. So today with me, Dr. Saurabh Ghosh is Professor of Surgical Oncology at Katikar Medical College, will take us through this case. And Dr. Rajendra Kumar Sahu, who is third year JR from RKM, Bhiman Institute of Medical Sciences, will present the case. So Dr. Sahu, you can please start. Share your screen and start.
Screen take देखते हैं मैंने
So go to your screen.
The screen.
Hello.
Are you able to share your screen, sir?
No, sir.
You already sent the presentation, na?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You cannot share, eh? Then we will start. You keep on reading. Dr. Shaw, Dr. Milind is sharing the screen. You can start.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Now, yes, sir. Okay. Now, today I'm going to present CA tongue.
Next.
Sir, my patient name is Mr. X, 60-year gentleman, by profession shopkeeper, resident of Kolkata. Sir, attended to the OPD with chief complaints of swelling over right side of tongue for 4 months and pain over the swelling for 1 month. In history of present illness, he was apparently well 4 months back when he noticed a small swelling of size 1 centimeter to 1 centimeter approximately over the right lateral aspect of the tongue while brushing his teeth. The swelling was initially about 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, and enlarged to about 3 centimeter to 2 centimeter. And 2 months back, he also noticed a spontaneously developing ulcer over the swelling, which bleeds to tongue. Since last 1 month, he developed associated pain over the swelling and aggravated ingestion of hot and spicy food, excessive salivation since then. Patient have no history of difficulty in speech, no history of restriction of mouth opening or tongue movements, no history of difficulty in swallowing, no history of earache, no history of repeated trauma from sharp teeth, no history of any recent loosening or loose of teeth, no history of any swelling over the neck, no history of distant metastasis. In past history, known case of hypertension. So, known case of hypertension was in medication for last 15 years. No history of tuberculosis. Sir, in
Please continue.
Yes, sir.
You can continue. Yes.
Known case of hypertension and medication for last 15 years. No history of tuberculosis, diabetes mellitus. No history of syphilis also. In personal history, patient is a known tobacco abuser since last 20 years. Consumes tobacco about 5 packets in a day in the form of weed. Patient also consumes alcohol 60 ml per day. He is a non-vegetarian by diet and prefers spicy food, but has been on bland diet for last 1 month. Sleep is undisturbed. Bowel and bladder habits are normal. No history of recent weight loss. Sir, in a summary of the history, my patient is 60-year-old gentleman resident of Kolkata and by profession shopkeeper, who is a chronic tobacco abuser with food and alcoholic, present with swelling over right lateral aspect of the tongue for last 4 months and pain over the swelling for last 1 month with mild increased sensitivity to spicy food.
Okay, Dr. Saurabh, we had some discussion on history part he presented.
Yes, sir, we can have a discussion. More or less, he has completed the important positive and negative points. The history of tobacco and alcohol both are present. Can you tell me what is the importance of asking for tobacco and alcohol?
Sir, alcohol is can act as a solvent medium. It can absorb the tobacco products, and it can both are simultaneous effect for carcinogens.
Any other significant history in the oral lesions that you need to ask for?
Sir, yes, sir. No history of erythroplakia, leukoplakia, sir. Any patch in the mouth. There is no history of any such a patch in the mouth. And
did you mention that? I don't remember exactly. Did you mention that?
No, sir.
Then what about sharp tooth or
yes,
any history of dental extraction?
No history of dental extraction, no history of loosening of teeth.
You mentioned the history of dental extraction?
Sir. Yes, sir.
So that more or less covers it. These are the common for oral cancers or oral ulcers. These are the common important points that you have to keep in mind.
Okay,
is family history important, Dr. Sahu? Is there relevance of family history in patient with oral cancers?
Sir, no, sir.
No. What is the genetic basis in carcinoma tongue?
Sir, there is a history of P53 and RB mutations are occurring.
Genetic mutation P53 suppressor gene or overexpression of
RB gene, sir.
Overexpression of EGFR gene.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
How these genetic alteration can come in some patients? How these genetic alterations can come?
Sir, in the
has smoking any correlation with the malignancy in the oral cavity?
Yes, sir.
How it?
Sir, mutagenic. Sir, the smoking, sir, it is mutagenic. Mutagenic, but it can induce P53 mutation and EGFR and RB mutation.
Okay. So in this patient, does any past history of malignancy has any relevance? Patient who develops oral cancer,
yes,
does any past history of other malignancy has any relevance?
Sir, it may be said in P53, it may be said present in colon carcinoma or past history of the tongue and oral cavity, any part of the carcinoma, the head and neck carcinoma, sir.
Yeah.
Related,
so patient having past history of other squamous cell carcinoma are more prone to have oral cancers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So otherwise, history was present. But once you summarize, in the summary again, it should be a little more precise. So you said ended with swelling only, but he has developed an ulcer. So now he presently has got an ulcer.
Yes,
and you should mention specifically that he has no symptoms suggestive of local spread or any symptoms of distant spread. So if you use one line, once you summarize, summary should carry the message what you have presented. Okay. So I think you can pass on to the examination.
Sir, I have examined the patient after consent in a well-lit room. Patient is averagely built and well-nourished. So BMI 25 kg per meter square. Performance status of echo scale 0. Pulse is 82 per minute over right radial artery. Blood pressures are 130 upon 84 millimeter mercury over right arm in supine position. So no pallor, icterus, clubbing. Sinuses edema generally independent. In local examination, on inspection, the facial symmetry maintained, mouth opening is adequate, no tongue deviation noted, no halitosis, nicotine staining of teeth present, tongue shows swelling approx 3 cm to 2 cm in size with central ulceration. On right lateral aspect of the anterior two-thirds of tongue, about 1 cm, proximal to the tip of the tongue, not involving it, with irregular margin, surrounding edema present, not crossing the midline, not involving the floor of the mouth or gingivolingual sulcus, no swelling or ulceration seen in the posterior one-third of the tongue. There is a central ulceration size 0.5 into 0.5 centimeter having everted edges, floor covered with slab, no visible bleeding, no other leak or erythroplakic patches or ulceration seen elsewhere in the oral cavity. Retromolar trigger and facial fluids are normal, no visible swellings in the neck. So I will confirm my inspector finding by palpation. There is single swelling, tender, 3 cm to 2 cm size, harmonic consistency, uneven surface, irregular margin with surrounding impression around the swelling, tribal and bleed to touch, ulcer is based on the swelling. On the next, palpated from behind with patient in the neck slightly flexed, no cervical lymphadenopathy, examination of 9, 10, 12 canals are normal, examination of scalp, ear, nose and throat are normal, examination of cervical spine is normal, and systemic examination are within normal.
So can you just can you go back to the inspection findings? Can you?
Yes, sir.
The next one, next slide, please. Okay, so you've mentioned that there is a swelling in the tongue, which is, what is the importance of it crossing midline or not crossing midline? You have mentioned specifically that it does not crossing the midline.
Yes, sir, if it crosses the midline, there is a more lymphatic spread to bilateral sides, sir. And then from the operation point of view, there is more difficulty in managing the case.
This is usually advanced disease.
Yes, sir.
Midline is crossing is an advanced disease.
Yes, sir.
And what about the floor of the mouth or the gingivolingual sulcus?
Sir, if the floor of the mouth involvement, there is a chances of the mandibular involvement, and the chance of the mandibular malignancy increases, and the lymph node involvement also, sir, increases.
The lymph node won't increase just because the floor of mouth is involved. Tongue itself has got very rich lymphatics.
Yes, yes, sir.
So the chance of lymph node involvement is there anyway. But so yes, if it is going to the gingivolingual sulcus, then it is very close to the mandible. Then the part of the mandible may have to be removed for margins, for getting margins.
Yes.
Okay. Then come to the next slide, please. So you said the floor is covered with slough.
Yes.
What is the difference between floor and base?
Sir, the floor we can see, and the base we cannot see, and the base is palpable. And the
right. Floor is an inspectory finding, base is a palpatory finding. Okay.
Yes, sir.
What is you said there is no other leukoplakic or erythroplakic patch. What is the erythroplakic patch? What do you mean by erythroplakia?
Sir, erythroplakia is red velvety like appearance in the mucosal membrane, which are high chances of malignancy. And if it is present in other side, there is a chances of pre-malignation in other side also.
Dr. Shahu, you commented about the base of the tongue. You see, on inspection, you cannot comment about the base of the tongue. To comment on the base of the tongue, you need to say laryngoscopic mirror examination. Okay, so just on inspection, you cannot comment that base of the tongue is normal. Okay, you have to say that I'll examine the base of the tongue by using a laryngeal mirror or indirect laryngoscopy. Okay.
Yes.
Correct. You can, at the most, you can say that the posterior limit of the ulcer is visible and it is not going to the base. The ulcer is not extending to the base of the tongue. It is finishing before that. That much you can see. But as sir rightly pointed out, the base tongue, entire base tongue examination is not possible in a conscious patient just by seeing the mouth.
Yes, sir.
Correct. Carry on. Then go to the palpation, please. So 3 into when you are trying to, I presume you are trying to take this to the malignancy. So the base, you should specifically mention that it is hard. The base. Here you should mention the base of the swelling. Generally, in a malignancy, the swelling will be almost hard like a button. If you press it between 2 fingers, you will feel that it is like a button. So you should mention that specifically. The other things are more or less okay, and even surface reverted margin, and there is ulcer. Again, you will confirm that it is not crossing the midline, it is not reaching the base of the tongue. The floor, how will you assess whether the floor of mouth is involved or not? On palpation?
Sir, yes, sir. There is an induration to the below the tongue, sir, in the ventrals of the tongue. There is induration of the carcinoma, and hard irregular swelling can palpable.
So how do you palpate? Is there any special method of palpation? You can assess it better if you do a bidigital palpation. You put one finger intraorally and one finger in the skin outside below the mandible, and between the 2 fingers you will feel the floor of the mouth is supple and thin. But if the tumor has infiltrated into it, you will find that there is some induration. Okay, so bidigital palpation will help. Okay, carry on.
How do you examine the ninth nerve?
So ninth nerve by opening the mouth and telling the patient to say ah. Then I can see the uvula and the soft palate movement.
Does the ninth nerve moves uvula?
The soft
the ninth nerve supply?
Sir,
ninth nerve is tested by test sensation.
Yes, sir. Ninth
nerve supply one of the muscle of the palate, but you cannot examine ninth nerve by looking at the motor movement. Ninth nerve examination is by test sensation, the posterior third of the tongue.
Posterior 1/3, yes.
Yeah. And how do you examine for 12th nerve palsy?
By the tongue movement, sir.
Before you ask for the movement, what do you see? This can be assessed on inspection.
Sir, in the deviation of the tongue, any side.
Yeah. To the normal side.
Normal side, sir.
Yeah. So on inspection, you can make out whether the tongue is deviated or not. That is important finding in inspection. Yes. And 10th nerve is the all movements you look for.
Yeah, reflex.
Nasal intonation and uvula movement, any alteration of speech. Okay. Okay. Summarize and conclude.
Sir.
Just read the summary.
Yes, sir. In summary of the case, the 60-year-old gentleman is chronic tobacco abuser with alcoholic, present with swelling over the right lateral aspect of the tongue for last 4 months and pain over the swelling for last 1 month with increased sensitivity to spicy food for last 1 month. On examination, a 3 into 2 centimeter ulcer of proliferative growth was noted in the right lateral aspect of the tongue, which was not crossing the midline, and the ulcer was seen over the swelling, which was bleed to touch, and no neck nodes was palpable. So in provisional diagnosis, 60-year-old gentleman, known hypertensive, with a progressive ulcerative tongue lesion on right lateral aspect, most likely a case of carcinoma tongue. So clinically, stage T2 N0 and stage 2 disease.
Okay, so would you like to offer some differential diagnosis, or is that the only diagnosis that you would like to entertain?
Sir, it is a clinical diagnosis, sir. Then I have to confirm my diagnosis.
Any differential diagnosis? Any other possibility with such ulcerative lesion in the tongue?
It may be, sir, tubercular ulcer. Or
okay, if it was smaller, then it could be, yes, a tubercular ulcer. Then
syphilitic ulcer, sir. Then chronic ulcer.
Don't bring syphilitic as a number 2. You see, don't bring syphilitic because in last 15-20 years you have not seen a single syphilitic ulcer. So that is not the thing you look at now. Yes. There are other possibilities. What? Although you say there is no sharp tooth, but always a traumatic ulcer should be kept in mind.
It's a traumatic ulcer.
Yeah. Then
sir,
tuberculosis is a specific infection. Yes. Can any other infection cause such ulcer? Even a non-specific infection can cause ulcer. Okay.
Fair enough. So,
yeah.
In this case, so there are not too many differential diagnoses. So I think these three should be okay. So the examiner should know that you have an open mind. You are not fixed on one case. So always, whenever you come up with a provisional diagnosis, at least one or two possible differentials you should think over and keep ready. Not forcefully, like in a 3.3, 3.5 centimeter mass with a indurated base and everted edge, it is most probably carcinoma tongue. But still, you should at least one or two differential diagnoses you should try and keep in mind. So how will you confirm your diagnosis?
Before that, Saurabh, you have given a diagnosis of T2N0M0. Do you know in HSCC 8, there is something being added to the T staging?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
So depth of invasion is added.
So you should mention. You should mention that although I cannot assess the depth of invasion by just palpation, you are keeping T2 subject to subsequent staging.
Confirmation by
depending on the depth of invasion, because HSCC has added this part in TNM staging.
Yes.
Okay. That is depth of invasion. Yeah. What is T2 by definition? T2 by definition is what?
Sir, by definition, it is more than 2 centimeter, less than 4 centimeter, or involvement, the depth of invasion, 5 to 10, more than 5, less than 10.
Yeah.
Or size 4 centimeter, depth of invasion 10 millimeters.
No, again, less than 10 millimeters.
Less than 10.
Less than 10. It can be just, if it is by size wise, 2 to 4 with maybe a less invasion also. Depth of invasion is T2.
Yes.
But less than or equal to centimeter with 10 millimeter invasion
10
is
millimeter.
T2. Okay. What is T4?
Sir, T4 is the T4A and T4B. T4A and T4B. T4A is the involvement of skin, maxillary sinus,
mandible.
And
mandible.
Mandible.
Mandible, yes. And yes. T4B?
T4 is the pterygopalatine fossa involvement.
Yeah.
And
masticator space.
Masticator space.
And base of the skull.
Base of the skull.
So it's a far advanced disease. If we talk of T4B, it's a far advanced disease.
Yes.
T4A is still amenable for resectional surgery.
Yes.
T4B is a very advanced disease where upfront surgery is not possible. Okay, management, start.
Sir, I will, sir, after confirmation diagnosis, I will stage my diagnosis by doing, sir, CT scan of the neck. If, sir, CT scan of the neck is not available, I will go for, sir, USG. Then if it is CT scan available, then I go for CT scan. CT neck.
When you say neck, do you mean tongue and neck, or is it just for the neck you are saying?
No, sir, tongue and neck, sir, head and neck, sir.
So you will prefer a CT scan for a tongue ulcer?
Yes, sir. No, for tongue ulcer, if you, sir, manage surgical, then MRI is better, sir.
Yes. But you said CT scan. Surely you will not ask for a CT scan and an MRI. That is done only in America. In our country, it will be very difficult to do so many investigations. You have to keep things in mind. So if you want one investigation, which one would you prefer?
Then, sir, go for, sir, MRI, sir.
So what is the advantage of MRI over CT scan, sir, for tongue?
MRI, tongue is a muscular organ. Sir, MRI will delineately clearly mention about the infiltration, any involvement, or any tongue.
So the anatomical resolution for soft tissues is much better with MRI.
Yes, sir.
So the depth of infiltration, the involvement of the extrinsic muscles of the tongue, this is better assessed on MRI than CT scan. So if it is just a matter of assessment of the tongue, then MRI is the investigation of choice. Would you add contrast or will you not add contrast?
Sir, in MRI, sir?
Yes, MRI.
Yes. Yes, sir. MRI.
So you would prefer a contrast enhanced MRI. So there are certain features which you see on the contrast, like a restriction of diffusion, diffusion restricted image.
Yes.
So that also helps you to distinguish between fibrosis and cancer, or scarring or chronic infection and cancer. And what about the neck?
Sir, in a neck,
it said impalpable. How reliable is clinical examination for neck evaluation? At what percentage of patient you may be wrong assessing N0?
Yes, sir.
Approximation.
Yes, sir. If it is, sir, T size is more, then we can limit.
N0. I'm saying you have assessed N0. Why do you need investigation? That's what I'm saying. That how is the chance of missing a metastatic nodal palpation?
Sir, 25 to 65% are missing chances. Sir.
Yeah. 20 to 40% patient may have positive node and you are feeling that is not palpable.
Yes, sir.
So if it is N0 neck, what investigation you can do? Ultrasound is good enough. Ultrasound is good enough to pick up. What are the characteristics of a metastatic node on ultrasonography?
Sir, in ultrasound, we can, sir, the structure of the lymph node says it is, sir,
first is the size.
Spherical.
First is the size. What size lymph node do you think significant?
Sir, more than 1 centimeter in size, sir, increase, sir. And there is a globular shape.
Yeah.
External extension, sir.
Before external extension.
Loss of the fatty hilum.
Loss of fatty hilum, yes.
Yeah. And loss of perinodal halo.
Perineal halo.
Okay. And if you apply color Doppler,
then vascularity.
Vascularity increases.
Increase vascularity. The metastatic node, the vascularity more. So these are the features of, these are usually question asked in the exam. What are the features of metastatic node in ultrasonography? So these are the important features of metastatic node. Fine. So you have a clinically N0 node and N0, and you have staged the tumor by MR.
Yes, sir.
Is there an indication for doing a chest CT?
Yes, sir. In this case, sir, it is not a chance of, sir, in meds, long meds, as the size is less. But
so in T1, T2 tumors, where the tumor is localized and there is no node involvement, then a chest CT may not be essential. But in advanced disease, T3 T2 tumors, node metastasis, you should do a staging workup. Is there a role for PET CT?
Yes, sir. If it is metastasis, distant metastasis, then PET CT is better than CT.
So if you have
but how will you know whether there are distant metastases?
Yeah.
In PET CT, sir, there is a...
No. Clinically. When you say patient...
Yes, sir. In clinically, sir, if it is a long, there is hemoptysis or cough, in there is a liver involvement, there is a jaundice or pain abdomen, or if it is bone involvement, there is a bone pain. Yes, sir.
Okay, so when will you ask for a PET CT? Will you ask for a PET CT in all cases of oral cancers or all cases of CA tongue?
No, sir.
When will you ask for it?
Then if patient give the features clinically, features of this lung involvement, bone involvement or liver involvement.
So then you will ask for a PET CT scan. Suppose the patient is also having a lot of cough with hemoptysis. Yes. So then CT thorax is not enough. You have to have a PET CT scan.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Sir, if it is a T4, size is more, and there is a N3, then chances of malignant metastasis is more, sir. Then we said
okay, so one is if it's a very loco-regionally advanced disease.
Yeah. So keep to this scenario. This patient has got a localized disease.
Yes.
And you have a 3
then
centimeter
you can.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please carry on.
In this case, there is no need of, sir, PET CT scan. We will go for the chest X-ray. If chest X-ray is diagnostic or any query, the chances of malignancy, then you can.
No. Actually, Dr. Shah, what I say is, don't say chest X-ray as part of your location for chest metastasis. You are doing chest X-ray for routine examination, but don't say to look for metastatic chest X-ray, because that is not the standard of care. For looking for chest metastasis, you need a CT chest. Gross lesion can be seen in chest X-ray. That is different.
Then I'll go for CT chest and CT abdomen.
CT abdomen. Why?
You don't need routinely CT abdomen.
Sir, if there is involvement of the liver.
Then it's a different issue.
This is a patient in front of you. So
then
you confine to this patient, I don't think you need a CT abdomen.
No, sir. Chest CT. And sir, indirect laryngoscopy to know the base of the pharynx involvement or the base of the tongue involvement. And then sir, routine investigation for treatment of my case.
What about biopsy?
Sir, in the staging, sir, an incisional biopsy confirms the incisional biopsy.
So what will you do first? Will you do the biopsy first or will you do the imaging first?
I do sir first confirms the diagnosis. I should do biopsy first.
Sir. If it is slightly the posterior lesion or it's a slightly small lesion, then the biopsy itself may cause some amount of edema and increase it distort the image. So maybe it is better to go for the imaging and then do the biopsy. If it's a very large lesion, anyway it is T4, then maybe you can do the biopsy first because there is no further role of increasing because it is already T4. But in a small lesion, maybe you should do the imaging first so that you know that it is an early lesion and then do a biopsy.
So biopsy, what do you expect? What is the likely diagnosis?
Histological.
Yes, sir. It can tell about the types of carcinoma, sir. The cell types, squamous cell carcinoma or adenocarcinoma or melanoma can also be seen, sir.
What is the common carcinoma?
So, squamous cell carcinoma, sir.
Yeah.
What is the percentage?
Sir, 80% of the 80%.
No. More than 95% are squamous cell carcinoma. More than 95% are squamous cell carcinoma.
What are the historical?
How will you get adenocarcinoma?
Yeah.
How will you get adenocarcinoma in the oral, in the tongue? The lining is squamous epithelium, isn't it?
Yes,
tongue lining. Yes, then how will you get adenocarcinoma?
As I said, there's a glandular structures.
What is that?
Right. Okay.
These are minor
salivary gland. Yes,
salivary gland, mucus glands, they are there. So those are the glands which may give rise to adenocarcinoma. Right. But that is very rare. Mostly it is squamous carcinoma.
Yes, sir.
And melanoma also you can get sinonasal melanoma. Some oropharyngeal melanomas can occur in the oral cavity. Yes, but that is also very rare, maybe 1 to 2%.
Yes.
Okay. The sir was asking what are the typical histological pathological features of squamous carcinoma? Can you describe?
Sir,
what will the pathologist write?
The same in all SCC.
Sir, they are arranged.
Yes.
They are arranged in a single layer, sir.
And
what is arranged in single layer?
And cells, sir.
Classic description is what?
No, why should they be in single layer? They will be multiplying and proliferating. No, why should there be single layer? Single file is lobular carcinoma of the breast. Indian file appearance. Squamous carcinoma, why will they be in single layer? Hyperkeratosis, papillomatosis, acanthosis, then presence of keratin pearls in the dermis, then dysplastic cells, the cells themselves, they will become dysplastic. So there will be alteration of the nucleocytoplasmic ratio, there will be prominent chromatin, prominent nucleoli, bizarre shape of the cell, loss of cell-to-cell cohesion. So the basement membrane will be breached.
Character of SCC. Anyway, it's not specific tongue only. A typical character of any oral malignancy. Okay, what's your plan now? Sir, staged, no distant disease, no nodal metastasis, is a localized in the tongue, and it's a 3 centimeter.
Yes, sir.
What should be planned?
For treatment, I will do some investigation. I'll do, sir, complete blood count, the LFT.
Okay, you have done them. You're a postgraduate here. You have done the routine investigations for fitness, and the patient is all the investigations are within normal limit. More or less.
Yes.
ECG, echocardiogram, routine blood investigations are normal. Now what?
Then I'll advise the patient to stop smoking or tobacco.
Okay, very good. Patient says I cannot give up. You say smoke, stop. Does the patient stop? You have how many years? You have 3 years in the postgraduate year, na?
Yes, sir.
So you tell the patient to do many things. Do they do?
Yes. No, sir.
They do. They follow all your advice. No. Then how will you enforce it? How will you help him? The patient will invariably restart again. So what can you do to help him or her?
Sir, in this case, I will go for surgical treatment, sir.
No. Let us just talk about tobacco stopping. What do you do for stopping tobacco?
Sir, stopping tobacco, I will give, sir, chewable chewing gum, sir. Nicotine
gums. Okay, you can do that. You can send the patient to a tobacco cessation clinic, yes, where they will counsel. They will repeatedly counsel him, and if the patient is having very strong withdrawal, then you can give these nicotine-containing gums or patches, or even nicotine inhalers that are present. They can be used.
And then to maintain, sir, mouth hygiene.
Okay. Okay. What else?
Then, sir, go for surgery, sir.
Surgery.
Yes, sir.
The patient refuses surgery. Patient says, no, sir, doctor, please give me some other option. Is there any other option?
Sir, then, sir, radiotherapy.
Okay, so radiotherapy is one option. It is there. What are for early tongue lesions, early anterior tongue lesions, what are the results of surgery versus radiotherapy?
Sir, almost sir, equivocal, sir.
Equivalent, not equivocal, equivalent. Okay, so how will you choose surgery over radiotherapy? Then why did you say surgery? If you are saying that the results of radiation versus surgery for early tongue cancer,
yes, sir,
there is a lot of disturbance in the background.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If it is we plan for radiotherapy, there is the glandular structures of fibrosis will occur, and there is if after.
Now, what is the recommendation? Dr. Shahu, we said is comparable, but still in the book there is a recommendation that
surgery.
Upfront, yes,
sir. Yes, sir.
Even if both are comparable, it is said that the upfront surgery is a better option for such patient.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then I'll go for, sir, in this case, wide local excision in 3-dimensional with 1 centimeter clear margin.
So how will you approach the tongue? There are several possible approaches. Yes, how will you approach? This you said is just 1 centimeter distal to the tip of the tongue. So it is mainly in the anterior tongue and it is well lateralized.
Yes, sir.
And it is 3 centimeters. You can see the posterior extent. It is not going up to the base of the tongue.
Base of the tongue.
So this possibly you can do per orally. So per oral access. And you said mouth opening is also very good, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You said mouth opening is okay. There is a very common condition associated with tongue cancer, especially, which causes reduction of mouth opening. Do you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is that?
Ankylosing, sir. If there is a involvement at the base of the
skull. No, ankylosing is something separate. Ankylosing is separate.
What other
that causes reduction in mouth opening.
Mouth opening, yes, sir.
Reduction in mouth opening occurs due to what disease? It is quite common in Asians.
Submucosal
fibrosis, sir.
So suppose there is associated OSMF. There is associated OSMF and the mouth opening is severely reduced. Inter-incisor distance is, say, just 1 centimeter and the lesion is slightly big and you cannot even assess properly. Then what will you do? How will you approach? Here it is not possible to do it per orally.
Yes, sir.
Then what will you do?
Then I will go for
how do you reach the floor of the mouth?
Sir, then we will go for.
Or how do you reach inside the mouth? The mouth is not opening. How will you reach inside the mouth?
Then, sir, we will go for, sir, commando operation, sir.
Commando,
but on the imaging, on the MRI, the bone is normal, absolutely normal. It is still a lateralized lesion of the tongue. Only thing is there is associated OSMF. So the mouth is not opening and it is a slightly big lesion. It is going a little posteriorly. Why do you want to sacrifice the person's mandible just for your own
Can you split the mandible without sacrificing it?
Yes, then we will go for, sir, lip split approach, sir.
Yes. Mandibulotomy.
Then mandibulotomy, sir.
So mandibulotomy and swing. You can divide the mandible anteriorly. Where will you divide? In the midline or paramedian?
Paramedian, sir.
Paramedian. And if you have the expertise, then you do a step cut of the mandible. And then once you divide the bone at one place, then the hyoglossus muscle, which makes up the floor of the mouth and the mucosa, you can divide gradually because you have made the cut there. So the mandible is now a little apart. You get space and you keep dividing. And as you divide, the part of the mandible which you have cut, it will just swing away because you are dividing its attachment. So it will swing away and that will give you access. Now the oral cavity will be open to you. So that is known as mandibulotomy and swing approach. Mandibulotomy and swing. And once the operation is over, you can again put the mandible back and attach it to the other part of the mandible by putting 2 mini plates and screws, just like you do for a mandibular fracture. Okay. So sometimes peroral excision may not be possible. You may have to go for mandibulotomy and swing, and later you can again unite the mandible once your operation is done by putting mini plates and screws. Okay. So it is a paramidline cut, paramedian cut, and you can, if you possible, you do a step cut, like say like a L, so that the 2 parts of the mandible unite more easily. Any other approach, where the mouth opening is okay, but the lesion is extending very posteriorly. Here there is adequate mouth opening, but the lesion is a big lesion. It is going posteriorly. So peroral excision, posteriorly you are having difficulty. Like sir said, you cannot assess the base of the tongue orally. You need a mirror. Why? Because the posterior part of the tongue goes back into the oropharynx. So the lesion also now it is going deep into the oropharynx, and your cautery or whatever instrument you are using, it is straight. You cannot see that part. So if you cannot see, how will you cut? So what do you do? Is there any other option?
Any newer modality?
No, I'm talking about surgical option. I'm talking about surgical option.
Okay.
There's something known as a pull through. You again, instead of dividing the mandible, you just divide the soft tissue attachments of the tongue around the mandible for at least more than half the circumference. Once you do that, you can pull the tongue down into the neck. And once you pull the tongue down into the neck, the posterior aspect or the access to the posterior tongue is very clear. You can go right, you can almost see the vallecula because the tongue is now pulled down into the neck. I mean, it is difficult to conceptualize if you have never seen it, but it gives you a very good access. So these are the 3 common approaches to the tongue. One is peroral excision. You don't have to do anything. Mouth opening is adequate. You just excise through the oral cavity. One is mandibulotomy and swing. And the third is pull through. You divide the soft tissue attachments of the neck and pull the tongue down into the neck. And that gives you excellent access to the posterior part of the tongue. So for big lesions, you may have to do a pull through. Just a peroral excision may be difficult. Okay. So you have said you will keep 1 centimeter margin. So this is what will you do for the defect? There will be a large raw area, isn't it? Once
yes,
you have.
If it is small raw area, then it can heal by.
This is not small here. 3 centimeter tumor.
Plus 1 centimeter posteriorly, plus 1 centimeter anteriorly. So 5 centimeter.
Sir, then I will go for some micronous flap. Then we will go for some micronous flap operation, sir.
Which flap?
Sir, radial forearm flap, sir. Then or
radial forearm. Radial forearm, how will you put there? Is it a pedicle flap? Radial forearm?
No, sir.
Is it a pedicle flap?
It's a pedicle flap with the, we have to go to micro anastomosis to be done, sir.
So it's a free flap. It is not a pedicle flap.
Yes, sir.
It's a free flap.
Yes.
Free flap.
So for that you need microvascular anastomosis. How will you anastomose? To which vessel? What are the donor vessels? Donor area, what are the vessels?
When you take the radial forearm,
Radial,
what is the,
yes, sir.
Yeah. Trunk of radial artery. And
trunk of radial artery with lingual artery, sir.
Lingual? No. That is the recipient area. First, say the donor area, radial artery, and which vein? You just need artery. You don't need vein.
Yes, sir.
Do you need a vein, or is just the artery enough?
Artery and vein both, sir.
Which vein? You have not seen free radial artery forearm flap, it seems.
No.
So you have to see once, at least in a YouTube video, so that you know these things. Because in the rest of the world, it is being done. Even in the rest of India, it is being done. So your examiner will ask you. So you take the radial artery itself has got a vena comitantous. Sometimes if that is a very thin vein, you can also take you can harvest the cephalic vein along with it. But generally the vena comitantous of the radial artery is okay. Okay. And what is the recipient area vessel?
Lingual artery. Lingual vein.
And generally not the lingual artery, No, not the lingual. Lingual artery is much more deep-seated. It is very deep-seated. You will not have a sufficient long course. Which artery is taken?
The more approach artery is superior artery and the external jugular vein is a site for such anastomosis.
Even more commonly, we generally try to preserve the facial artery. We try to dissect off the facial artery and preserve the facial. But as sir rightly pointed out, superior thyroid is of course a choice. Suppose there is a bulky level 1B node and the facial artery cannot be preserved well. You have to sacrifice the facial artery without preserving. Then superior thyroid artery is definitely a choice. Common facial vein can be used, or external jugular vein, internal jugular vein can be used directly. So there are many options. Okay. So that is one option. So this is radial forearm. Suppose it's a bigger lesion than that. It is reaching midline. So you have done almost 2/3 excision of the tongue or a near total glossectomy. What are the options for reconstruction?
Pectoralis major flaps can be done.
Is that a pedicle flap or a free flap? Pectoralis major myocardial, is that a pedicle flap or a free flap?
Pedicle flap.
What is the pedicle based on? Which vessel?
Which artery?
So thoraco.
Thoraco, only thoracoartery. Thoracoacromial or acromiothoracic, whichever you say.
Acromiothoracic.
Thoracoacromial vessel.
Yes, sir.
Branch of subclavian. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that is one option. Definitely, that is an option that can be used even for moderate defects. Anything for any option in the free flap for really big defects other than free radial forearm.
Fibular flap.
Fibula for just for a tongue. No, nobody uses fibula for tongue. No. Fibula is used for mandibular reconstruction, isn't it?
Yes.
If you have a surgery for both tongue and the mandible, you can take a fibula graft, maybe breathe the mandible, and the muscular part will be for tongue.
Yes.
But
any other bulky flap which can breathe the large defect apart from the.
So LD flap then can.
What about tram flap?
Free. You generally take ALT, anterolateral thigh flap, because the donor site is well concealed and it gives a lot of bulk. And generally, in spite of the bulk and taking a fair amount of skin, the donor site can be closed primarily. So there is generally no need for graft or anything at the donor site. So anterolateral thigh flap, free ALT. But you can also take free tram, free LD. These are all options. Yes. Okay. So that is about the oral cavity. What about the neck? Are you planning to do anything for the neck or just a wide excision?
No, sir. I will do sir supraomoid neck dissection.
Why? I thought you have done an ultrasound of the neck and it is normal. Why do you want to do supraomoid neck dissection?
As there is chance of 20 to 40% chance of skip med, sir.
Skip?
No, sir. The involvement of the lymph node pathologically, not sir clinically. So I will go for sir.
Right. So occult. The term you are looking for is occult. Occult metastasis. Right. Yes. So clinico-radiological N0. When you say clinical N0, which includes clinico-radiological N0, that is not true pathological N0. Many studies have shown that of all clinico-radiological N0s, up to 30% may harbor occult metastasis. And so you should always do a minimum of a supraomoid neck dissection. What do you mean by supraomoid? What are the levels?
Sir, so in supraomoid neck dissection, level 1, level 2, and level 3 neck node dissection, sir.
Okay. For tongue, if it is a slightly more advanced lesion, sir, suppose there is a little bit, 1 or 2 nodes are suspicious, will you do any modification?
Yes, sir. If they go for extended supraomoid with level 4 lymph node dissection.
Yeah, so anterolateral. You call it anterolateral neck dissection, level 1 to 4. Good. Any difference of the right side and left side? Suppose you are going to do the operation. You are doing it for the first time. Sir says, okay, this time you, Dr. How you will do? Will you prefer right side or left side? You are a beginner.
As the midline is not crossed and there is a one side.
No. I am asking you, there are 2 patients.
Yes, sir.
2 patients. One has got a right-sided lesion, one has got a left-sided lesion.
Yes, sir.
And both you are going to operate. And sir says, Dr. Sahu, you will operate one case. Which one will you choose? The one on the right or the one on the left? as a beginner?
Sir, right.
Why right? Why not left? What is there in the left that is not there in the right? So what are the complications of neck dissection? Let us put it this way. What are the complications of neck dissection?
It can be, sir, early complication, late complication, sir.
Okay, early complications.
Sir, there is a bleeding and hematoma.
Hemorrhage.
Then
okay.
Infection, seroma lateral infection, sir. And sir, chylous fistula can be occurred, sir.
Chylous fistula occurs due to?
Thoracic injury to the thoracic duct, sir.
Where is
so
that?
which side is thoracic
left
duct?
Side subclavian vein.
So the thoracic duct is on the left side of the neck. So
yes.
In any left neck dissection, yes, there is a chance of injury to the thoracic duct. So even when I operate, if I get a right-sided lesion, I always say, "Oh, thank God, today this is the right-sided lesion. I don't have to bother about left neck." However senior you are, there is always a chance that you will injure the thoracic duct.
Yes, yes.
So on table, if you detect it, you can repair it, but still there is a chance of a chylous fistula. And a chylous fistula is a very, very troublesome thing. Very, very troublesome thing sometimes.
Yes.
So as a beginner or even as a senior surgeon, you always prefer right side. Left side, you have to keep in mind additional chylous fistula. Okay. Sir, do we discuss more details about surgery or
adjuvant therapy? Surgery is all right.
Adjuvant. Okay, let us talk about adjuvant.
Yes,
let us talk about adjuvant.
Then post-operative, we can go for radiotherapy, sir.
Here
we can go for. Can go. What do you mean by can go for?
According to the specimen, sir, if it is the grade is more, and there is chances of the lymph node.
Grade is more. Grade is more.
Tumor grade, sir.
No. I don't agree with you. No. Grade is not the primary indication for.
What are the indications? You see, here you said it's a T2 lesion.
R0 excision is not. Yes, sir. If R0 excision is not possible, there is margin positive.
If R0 excision is not possible, then you have done a very bad thing to operate. Why did you operate if R0 was not possible?
T2 you should achieve R0 excision.
Yes,
if it's not R0, you should.
Accidentally, margin positive is a different thing. You say margin positive in the post-op. Unintentionally, you have done an excision, but the submucous spread or somewhere the tumor has defeated you, and you have got a margin positive. Don't say if R0 is not possible beforehand. You say margin positive in the post-op view. Achha, that is one indication, but that should not happen too often. Margin positive. Generally, you should get margin negative. What are the important indications?
Yes, sir. High grade, margin positive.
No. I'm saying high grade is not acceptable indication. There is nothing called high grade.
T4, then tumor size.
It is very simple, Dr. Sahu, very simple. Yes. T3, T4,
yes, sir.
N2, N3, PNE, and close or positive margin. That's it. T3, T4, N2, N3.
Yeah.
Perinodal extension, close or positive margin. What is close margin?
Sir, the margin is resectable, but the free margin.
Close. What is definition of close margin in the post-op report? Less than 5 millimeter.
Less than 5 millimeter.
Once in the margin, no?
Yes, sir.
So whenever you take 1 centimeter, yes, it will never come as 1 centimeter. Immediately after cutting, there is some contraction. That is the primary contraction. Then once you put the specimen in formalin, there is further contraction. So the 1 centimeter margin that you took during the operation, ultimately when the report comes, it will come as around 7 millimeter or 6 millimeter or 8 millimeter. Suppose you take 1.5 centimeter margin during operation, then your report will come 1. So very often in the final report, you will get a margin of 6 millimeter or 8 millimeter or 4 millimeter. Right? Yes. So up to 5 millimeter, we accept. Especially if also the pathologist says the margin is free, 5 millimeter but free. But if it is less than 5 millimeter, then we say it is a close margin. And that is also an indication for adjuvant RT. And sir has already pointed out, again, you should remember that in the final histopath, you will also have to see the depth of infiltration, DOI. If the DOI is, although the tumor size is say 3 centimeter, but if the DOI is 1 centimeter or more than 1 centimeter, 1.2 centimeter, then it becomes a T3 lesion. Yeah. It is no longer T2. So again, T3 is an indication for adjuvant RT. So T3 or T4 or N2 or N3 or perinodal extension or close or positive margin. If any of these are present, then you give
radiotherapy.
High grade presence of lymphovascular invasion. These are soft factors. If it's a very borderline lesion and these are present, you might discuss the options of radiotherapy with the patient, but these are not absolute indications. Say, suppose the tumor size is just 4 centimeter or 3.9 centimeter, and the thickness is 9 millimeters. It is very borderline, but it is still T2. And now on top of that, it is high grade and there is presence of LVE. Then you can discuss with the patient that, see, although it is technically T2, you have got an aggressive lesion, it is a high grade lesion, there is LVE. I would like to give radiotherapy. But in itself, high grade is not an indication. So for a T1N0, no matter how high grade it is, you will not give adjuvant radiotherapy. Okay. Grade is a soft indicator. It is a very, very soft indicator for radiotherapy. It is not an absolute indication for it. Okay. So don't say high grade. Say stage T3, T4, N2, N3, PNE and close margin. And close margin. That's it. These are the indications for adjuvant radiation.
What is the specialty of carcinoma of the tongue in the base?
Sir, it involves to the lymphatics very early, and
any specific etiology which is having a more incidence of base carcinoma?
HPV, sir.
HPV, yes.
Good.
And they are diagnosed early or late?
HPV, sir.
Patient having a carcinoma in the base of the tongue is diagnosed early or late?
Late, sir.
Late, because symptoms are not very early at the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how do you diagnose in most of these cases?
What is the function of that?
Indirect laryngoscopy.
No, that is on the confirmation of diagnosis. What will make you suspect? What is the function of the anterior tongue and what is the function of the posterior tongue?
Sir,
normal physiological function.
Posterior tongues are swelling.
And anterior tongue is more important for speech.
Speech, sir. Yes, sir.
So for posterior tongue lesion, the prominent symptom will be difficulty in swallowing.
Yes.
And patient may complain of microaspiration, coughing. When I am swallowing, after that I am coughing.
Yes, sir.
And I may feel some difficulty in swallowing, dysphagia.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Achha, suppose you said it is not reaching midline. Suppose it is reaching midline. One thing you said is that you will have to address the opposite neck also.
Yes, sir.
Any other surgical change of plan?
Then, sir, we have to go for modified radical neck dissection.
No, not modified. No.
About the tongue, the tumor is going beyond the midline. What's in the surgery?
Total glossectomy.
It will be subtotal.
So you have to anything else.
Yes.
Anything else? The glossectomy you will do whatever glossectomy is needed. Anything else that you have to do?
Then you have to do bilateral, sir, neck dissection. Sir.
Anything else? You have to do bilateral neck. Agreed. Anything else? If it is a major resection crossing the midline, you have to add a tracheostomy. You have to add a tracheostomy post-op because the tongue will be excised. The remnant tongue will not be adherent to the mandible. The genioglossus will go. In the post-op period, the tongue will fall back. Patient will die. You must add a tracheostomy if your resection is crossing the midline. Okay? So you have to take these consents pre-op. Because immediately post-op, the patient will wake up and he will find that he cannot speak. He has got a tube put inside his throat, in his windpipe. So these things are very important. You have to address the opposite neck if it is reaching the midline. You have to add a tracheostomy to the surgery if it is crossing the midline. Okay? Then, when do you add chemotherapy, adjuvant chemo?
Sir, yes, sir. We can go for, sir, in case of palliation. We can go for, sir, chemotherapy.
No, not in case of palliation. Not in case of palliation. We are talking about adjuvant therapy, please. You have done the surgery.
Yes,
when do you are giving adjuvant radiation?
Yes, sir.
When will you add adjuvant chemotherapy?
Sir, if there is there is presence of metastasis and there is a high
If it is metastatic, then it is palliative.
Yes, sir.
There is no question of operation. I am saying in this patient, you have done the operation, the report has come. What are you are giving adjuvant radiation, adjuvant, not palliative. Yes. The intent is curative. When will you add chemotherapy to the radiation, or will you never add?
Sir, I will add, sir. If there is, sir, the tumor tumor size more, the chances of
no. What is more? What is more? I've already said indication for T3. Radiotherapy is T3 or T4.
T3.
So when do you add chemo? So in all cases, when you add radiotherapy, you will also add chemo. So you mean to say the adjuvant treatment is adjuvant chemo radiation?
No, sir. No, sir.
Then when do you add chemo?
No, sir.
You add chemotherapy when either there is perinodal extension or there is R2 resection. You know what is R0, R1 and R2?
Yes, yes, sir.
So if you have done R2 resection or there is perinodal extension, then you add adjuvant chemo, cisplatin, to the radiotherapy. Otherwise, you just give adjuvant radiation. Okay.
Okay, Dr. Shohrab, we have gone the time.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a very good discussion. Yes. Any question from any of the participants? Any question you can answer?
I would be happy to take it.
Yeah. No question?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Shohrab. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.